There we go. Welcome to another episode of Brown and Browner, the Thursday edition. We'll do a little recap and rundown of all the upcoming NFL games. We'll do a little side banter with other sports and stuff, and hope you enjoy it.
That's right, because the hockey just kicked off this week.
That's right.
They just began their season.
What about the sports season? We got football, basketball, hockey, and baseball all at once right now.
All at once. This is actually the best part of the sporting year because you do have that convergence of all four sports playing at the same time.
Yep. Not a day goes by where you don't have a game.
Pretty much. And we didn't mention the WNBA's in the their finals. So
yep.
They got the Mercury Lynx against the New York Liberty.
Yep.
And I'm just going to call this right now before we kick it into football. I don't know. I mean, the Liberty have embraced Spike Lee as being their on-court presence and famous person, Jack Nicholson, whatever. I'm sorry, but has anyone that Spike Lee supported ever won anything?
In the time that he has supported the Knicks, no.
So I'm just saying, it's nice to have him clap you 5 when you score a basket, but I'm just going to tell you that his track record sucks.
The Liberty did knock off the defending champs. You got to give it credit.
Yes, they did. So I give them credit for that. But I think they're going to run into a buzzsaw with the Mercury Lynx. Don't sleep on them. They got a couple of really good players, and the Liberty looks like they could take it all, but that's why you play the game.
No, I'm surprised they shut down Asia Wilson. That was pretty impressive.
Well, they did have the best record, and I think throughout the season they actually beat them like 4 out of 5 games, if not all 5 or something. So, they knew how to handle her. I think it's all about what we talk about and going to talk about in football and other sports. You can let one person go off. It was like how Jordan was. Jordan used to go off, but everybody else sucked, and the teams would beat us. That's what they were doing. Asia, you're going to get yours. You're the MVP for a reason, multiple MVPs. But as long as the rest of your team doesn't light it up and you don't have that 3-point shooting, you don't have these girls doing this, we're going to beat you. And that's what the Liberty did.
You got to have a Scotty. That's the unfortunate truth in every sport. You got to have a Scotty.
Well, you got to have a Scotty after Jordan gave him some Advil and smacked him in the face and said, hey, we're professional athletes. You don't get a headache and tell us you can't play.
Right. Exactly.
So that other Scottie Pippen was good. The one before that's why Jordan kept losing to Detroit and to Boston and to all of these teams, is because he didn't have the sidekick that was mentally ready to play at the level that he was at.
I think in any team sport, and I see this even with the kids that I coach, like you've got to embrace your role and figure that out. And as a coach, your job is to make sure your players are figuring that out too. Like on a soccer field, I know which kid should be playing wing because that's the way he kicks it. That's the way he does it. And that's what he needs to embrace, like him being good at that. Yeah, you work on him getting better or her getting better at whatever other position. But in a game situation, if you're playing in a tournament or a competitive environment, you have people that step up into their role. And that's how you succeed at the end of the day, especially in a team sport.
I agree. And I think one of the things, because I was also coaching soccer, and I always had like 1 or 2 really good players, but you had to teach them. When you had to put your hand in the face of the parent to get them to shut up and not be running down the field trying to coach the kid during the game. But once you did that, you got them to play just like Jordan. You use Jordan as an example. He didn't win until he learned how to incorporate everybody into the game, as opposed to him just trying to win it all himself. And that's what these kids used to do. And it's like, that's great. You could score 4 goals, but we're still going to lose because everybody else is just sort of wandering around watching you play instead of being involved in the game. And once they started doing that, we started killing teams because now other people are scoring. They're in the game. You're passing the ball around. And now it's a team concept. And most importantly, and with our team, I had to get people to understand the importance of the goalie and not be afraid of being a goalie. And once I was able to do that, and I had a couple of girls that were really good, and one kid, a guy that was really good. We really were killing them because then they got past the fear of, oh, the ball is hard and it's going to hurt me, and they were actually blocking shots, and they started understanding that they were the key to the game, not just somebody sitting in the background with their arms crossed, going, "Oh, this sucks,"
Well, the other piece of the pie, the other token, is also getting your star players to get faith in their teammates, right? Like that's the other.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I just said. Yeah, that's exactly it. Have faith by getting him involved. Hey, you could go score that goal, but if you get Mark to score that goal, he's going to be in the game and running with you and giving you more opportunities even for you to score, because now he's a threat instead of everybody just watching you play.
Yep. I mean, think about Jordan passing to Paxson, Jordan passing to Kerr. That wins you titles, that faith and that ability. So no, that's absolutely 100% agree. 100%.
You got to give someone else a chance to shine too. It's like there sometimes you're, and I get it. There were clubs or teams that I was on and I felt like, why am I the best player and you guys can play too? Come on. And then you try to do everything yourself and then the team hates you and you end up losing. So you have to learn how to play. Yeah, you got to learn how to play with the team and embrace that concept, no matter how good you are. Otherwise, you're playing 1-on-5. You're playing, 1-on-11.
Exactly. No, I did that last night with my kids for soccer. We had practice. I decided for the first time in the year, I'm going to pair up the two best kids on the same side when we did a scrimmage. And of course, all the other 5 kids are like, no, man, I want to be on Jace's team. I want to be on that. No, we're good. We're going to play. Guess what? Guys that were shorthanded, yeah, they won.
Because they learn to trust each other and play together.
After practice, I'm like, do you see what you did? You won 3-2 against what you guys think is the best player. And it was no knock against the best player, but at the same time, like, see what happens when you work together?
That's it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So who's going to be working together tonight with San Francisco taking on Seattle? And it seems like the injury bug is more prevalent this year than I recall in recent years.
I swear it is. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and luckily not mine right now. But
I was going to say, is there something I need to know?
No. So, but he was telling me like a lot of conferences and things that he goes to, there's a lot of folks that are like physician or team physician, stuff like that. And what he's finding is that he's seeing a lot more injuries for one. And he's almost attributing it to the fact that on 2 spectrums. One, he thinks that a lot of players on the top ends are pushing themselves almost too hard in trying to consolidate their preseason training. And what he meant by that was like, let's say you have the NFL. Your preseason starts in August, right? With games and everything else. Normally your conditioning starts about July, give or take.
Maybe a lot of players, even during the offseason, you have your conditioning routines.
Yeah, a lot of players used to do like routine conditioning, even from like, say, February all the way through June, even before all that cycle starts, even though that's considered the offseason. They used to spread it out a little bit more and all that. Now what they're seeing is because of all the social media, because of everything else going on in their lives and everything else, players are condensing that like heavy period where they really start getting at it until like June. And that's actually, it's kind of pushing their body a little bit further along and causing a little bit more injury into the season, which is what we're seeing now. Like within what 4 we're seeing a lot more simple injuries and stuff like that. Now, that said, there's also harder hitting and more speed. So
there's more speed, and the equipment is the equipment, right? But I do have to say that maybe we think there's harder hitting. I don't feel like it's harder hitting just because of the way the rules are. It's sort of changed. No. You can't be ultra aggressive like you used to be able to be.
It's simple human conditioning. You were getting stronger and fitter as a society, right? Like in general, like people working out more, getting stronger, getting fitter, and it's just what it is. And at a pro level, you're talking about the best of the best, no matter what team. And those people are all getting collectively stronger, faster, and everything else. So the hits are going to get bigger, no matter what the rules are at the end of the day. You can protect as much as you want, kickoffs, whatever you want. It's still going to be a big hit. You've seen a lot of violent hits already this year.
Oh, yeah. I think the one thing that's causing many of these lower leg injuries is the thing they're trying to get rid of now, which is a person jumping in the air and grabbing onto someone and then taking all of their weight and basically settling down on them. So basically you're seeing these ankle injuries and knee injuries because a 240-pound person jumps on you, grabs you around the waist, and literally sits down, like, puts all their weight on your body, and you end up crumpling. Just ask Joe Mixon, ask a few other players. That's exactly how they got injured.
No, I mean, I'd love to see a stat on this. Like, what was the average weight of a front line in, let's say, the 70s and 80s and 90s versus now? It's probably heavier.
Oh, they're way heavier now. Frontline guys, heck, I used to play the front line. I was playing BE against guys who weighed like 260, 270, which wasn't much for me because I was weighing like 230, 240, and I was strong. So it wasn't really a big thing for me. But now everybody's 300 plus. Even the defensive linemen who look like they just drank a whole keg of beer before they played can still run, a sub 540 and catch you and put all their 300 pounds on you.
I had the privilege of seeing Chris Jones in person at some media day thing from a distance. Something that's a big man. And there's just not one of them. There's a bunch of them out there.
Well, and that's the thing. And everybody's all yoked up, because you got your weight conditioning and your weight training. And man, everybody's running sub 5. Even the slowest guys, the biggest guys are running sub 5. The linebackers are running 4.5s, and everybody else is running 4.3s, 4.2s, So yeah, there's nowhere to go. Everybody's fast.
Exactly. No, but no, to the point of injuries, though, I mean, they're going to happen, especially with as fast and as strong as, like we're saying, people are becoming. I don't think there's any way around it. Yeah, you can put more protective gear, all that good stuff, and we can, tell quarterbacks they need to wear that puffy helmet, which I think they need to,
That puffy helmet just looks so funny.
It looks like one of those bobblehead dolls. Yeah.
I mean, I still love the game. I do feel like, I see the injuries and everything. I've always just been of the thought, like, football is a brutal sport.
Yes.
And you have to condition your body to take the pain and be able to understand how to recover from that quickly, non-steroid recovery.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get hurt and sometimes you don't. And back in the day, everybody I knew on the field was broken fingers. Fingers look like, you see these fingers, my fingers look funny because I play ball.
Right, exactly.
And you just played. If you broke a finger, you just played. If you sprung an ankle, you just taped it up and you played. So that's where I came from. So for me, it's like, I feel like the game, I still love the game. I feel like the game is something different than what I grew up on, just because of the rule changes and everything else.
The one thing that I've noticed in, like I said, the short lifetime that I've had, looking from the 80s till now, and we're just watching football, the one thing that has drastically changed from the time that I used to watch it as a kid till now is the receiving game. There's just so many more flags. There's just so many more penalties, and everything is getting called where you can't, like, I wonder how you can play defense unless you're just manned up on somebody so well. It takes perfection to be a defensive back these days, in my opinion.
It does. And a little trickeration. You got to be able to, like you see the guy that grab the left arm of the receiver as they roll over him to try to swat the ball with the right arm. You can see that, and those are pass interference calls that don't get called a lot. But everything else, you're right. The hand fighting and everything else, God forbid you do anything nowadays. Pass interference. There
was a Thursday night game, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and that was the running joke of the commentators with Al Michaels, and then we're like, oh, how many penalties did we call this game? Because that's all we're doing in the second half. And it literally was just flag after flag after flag. Like, it takes away from the game. I hate to say that. It takes away from the game. Let players play. But I understand the rules. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. But you can't play defense against a receiver anymore. I feel like it's lost. It's an art where you're learning almost how to draw a foul versus being able to out physical someone to catch a ball.
And that's how it used to be in the old days. Guys are clawing at you, they're slapping you in the face, grabbing your arms. That's why you saw these one-handed catches, because you only had one hand to do it, and you just figured out how to do it.
Think about all those iconic catches that like Jerry Rice had back in the day. Like, dude was jumping like way over somebody physically, like to catch a few balls, and it was just cool to watch.
Yeah, Lynn Swan was super, oh my God, he was like a ballerina in the air. Yeah, but you don't see those plays anymore. Also, what has changed that I don't like is this is in favor of the defense. If you're in the air catching a ball, a guy can just come up and hit you as hard as he wants and force you out of bounds, and it's incomplete. Even though you are clearly in bounds, if you just go down, they don't do that. Before, it used to be a judgment call on the referee, force out, but now it's changed. Plus, I think part of the issue that we're having are the referees aren't consistent. And I get it. If you really wanted to call a foul every play between the linemen holding and people slapping each other in the face, there's always a foul. You got to let them, they are letting them play to some extent. But I saw a couple of games. One was clear, and who was it? I want to say it was Mark Andrews. Someone had got face mask right in front of the referee. Yeah. And as he's getting tackled, he didn't get tackled yet. He turned around to the referee and went like this.
Yeah, I remember.
And the referee still didn't call it. And then they showed the replay, and it's clearly shown that the guy literally grabbed his face mask and yanked his head around. How do you miss those calls when you're standing right there? Did you blink?
I think the inconsistency, and I don't even know the best way to solve it, because like you said, it differs from referee to referee. And do you try to keep referee teams together collectively, but then they get a bad rap if they do one thing wrong, right?
That's true. That's true.
Well, it's hard to figure out a good solution there of getting more consistency across the league, in my opinion. But then at the same time, it's like you got to let players play. Some reps are a little more lenient, some are not. Like it's hard, and that honestly, even as a viewer, it gets hard because like I feel like you spend some games where you're literally just watching foul after foul on a drive.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
The drive goes 50 yards because there were two defensive penalties, and boom, they're already down the field scoring because of some ticky-tack fouls in some instances. And
then, like I said, in my viewpoint from a sports viewer, like even like last week when the Chiefs were playing and Mahomes threw that bomb over to Worthy, and I knew it was going to be a penalty. Like the better the ball went in the air, I'm already predicting penalty, not catch. How bad is that a mentality for me as a fan? Like every time a ball goes in the air deep, you're like, okay, it's going to be a penalty because somebody's going to get hit. And instead of like, hey, I want to see a cool catch and a run, like that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, then I guess, is it the way they're being taught? I mean, is it like what they were saying before, the tackling? Now they're teaching people how to tackle how you're supposed to, with your shoulders, not your head. You know, is it that the defenders have gotten away with it so much? Now they're changing how they're or calling the game. So the things they've been getting away with in the past, they're not getting away with any longer. And that's why you're seeing so many more penalties.
Well, I think there was a call maybe a couple of weeks ago in the media where they were talking about taking away the ability to have two safeties or two DBs in the back or something like that. I'm like, don't ruin defense. Like, don't try to relegate and rule on how defense should be played.
I heard that, and I said the same thing. It's like, hold on a second. Well, we want to change the game so you can't play, cover two. Get out of my face. Shut the front door. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
So now that they've come up with a way to scheme to make things harder on you, we're going to make it so they can't do that.
All in the name of entertainment and scoring. I'm like, sorry, but there's an art to defense. Like, there's a reason that defense. Yeah.
Well, and there's an art to offense too. Okay. Yes. You can still beat the cover two. You can have people come down over the middle, do those slants. You can make the defense succumb to your will if they're not willing to give up the big play. And then when they do that, when they jump that route, because you've done it 10 times, if for instance, if Aaron, I used to be good, Rodgers was able to throw the ball the way he used to, and Wilson did that to stop and go on the guy was ready to jump the route. He's 5 yards past him. Aaron didn't even throw the ball near him. It actually landed out of bounds.
Yep.
That was some kind of that was what was the guy Wilson, the one before him? That was the court. That was what he was doing. Zach Wilson, right? That was what he was doing, and he was vilified for it and kicked out of town. And now he's on the Bengals. And Rodgers is doing it, and they fire the head coach. That matter of fact, let's talk about that before we get into any more of this football. You know, Aaron Rodgers got on the Pat McAfee show, and he basically sounded like, well, this guy has a family and people need to stop doing that. And they think that I have more power than I do. And oh my God, I love him and his family, him and his little boy. He's my, my throw buddy and all of this stuff. And I'm like, are people believing this? There's no way that the owner met with Rodgers and he tells him how much he loves Robert Saleh. And the very next day, Robert Saleh gets fired. And then Aaron Rodgers is trying to play, I didn't know what happened. I was when it happened, I was in the training room getting, doing some rehabbing, and I was just as surprised as everybody else. Get the out of here. Stop.
Here's my entire beef with it, and I 100% agree with that whole take. Here's the thing. Now you put the defensive coordinator as the head coach, if I'm not mistaken, for the Jets, who I've never heard of, don't care. But their defense, I mean, I'll give the Jets credit.
Their defense is good.
And that's what Saleh was brought on as a specialist for. I get all that. Now you put this defensive coordinator, nobody knows who he is. I'm guessing he's Aaron Rodgers' puppet, probably at this point.
They all are now, even the owner.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers handpicked his offensive coordinator, Nate Hackett. And I'm sorry, but Nate Hackett's a fraud. He's been a fraud everywhere.
Fired. That guy should have been fired. It shouldn't have been Saleh. It should have been him.
Now, if you really want to put something in the crosshairs, Woody Johnson, you should have said, hey, I'm going to move Nate Hackett to coach because he's your boy with Rodgers. And if you're going to sell this whole idea of Rodgers is going to be, the guy that saves your franchise, put his hand-picked guy up there. Let's see how he does.
Let's see what happens.
Don't set up another guy to be a stooge, is what I say.
Plus, I just, I'm of the mindset that, and we talked about this, while defense can help seal a game, you can't win if you can't score. And the Jets are scoring at the same rate as they were before. So for me, whose fault is that?
If I were on the Jets defensive front, I would be frustrated as hell right now and pissed off. And I get why even the guy that they got from the Eagles is holding out, honestly.
Because he's held out. Yeah, Riddick has held out, and he hasn't played a down. And he probably doesn't even want to right now.
He doesn't want to right now.
Yeah.
If he's like, if I put in the work and I ain't getting shit for it, then why am I here?
Man, he's doing Dave Chappelle. I'm rich, bitch. So I don't have to do what you tell me. I don't have to report because it's not like I'm, impoverished and I have to come to work. I got the money.
Yep. No, like I said, I feel bad for that defense because you take that defense and put it on any other team, you got a good squad sitting there somewhere. But we are not cut the Jets.
And that's going to be the problem because I feel like many of those players like Robert Saleh.
100%. It's a defensive team, yeah.
So, and I'm not sure they all are I don't even think Garrett Wilson's in the Rodgers wagon. He might be saying what he's saying on TV just because, when he's interviewed. I don't think they're all falling I don't think they fall for his act anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's conspicuous. You don't see Garrett Wilson out there on media and stuff like that. I think for good reason. A, he's young because he's only in his second year, so he doesn't want to ruin his rep. I get it. And that's probably what his agent's telling him too, is my guess, right? So I get that. He's also not jumping on that Aaron Rodgers, bandwagon because it ain't doing shit for him right now, as far as I can tell.
Rodgers is living off his past reputation.
Yeah.
His current reputation, let's see, when he was on the way out at Green Bay, what was he doing?
Exactly. Yep.
Then he got hurt after the fourth play, so he didn't play. And now he's coming in this year. Looks pretty pedestrian to me.
Pedestrian, you've already succumbed to his whim and bringing in his coaches, bringing in his former players. The only thing you haven't called him so far is Donald Driver, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Everybody drank the Rodgers Kool-Aid.
Let's go bring in Donald Driver. Hey, is Aaron Jones available too? Let's bring up the whole crew.
I mean, that's what he did. So they blew up the team to satisfy his need, and they're getting zero return on it.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, now that he's sort of been exposed as this Rodgers and not the old Rodgers, there's nobody out there going, man, I'd like to have him on my team because they see what he's done. He's a prima donna. He's one of prima donnas are usually wide receivers, mostly on any team. Yeah. That's the most, that would be the prima donna. He is the prima donna. And boy, he walks around and people are smelling his farts like they are roses and loving anything that he does. And they've sold out. And what has Rodgers brought them?
Yep. So I was double checking Aaron Rodgers' contract. So unfortunately, the Jets are stuck with him for one more year next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's $75 million guaranteed, $112 million contract right now. So dude's getting paid like 50, 60 mil, whatever the hell it is right now. It's just stupid money, right? And think about it. Next year they say, okay, we're finally getting rid of this experiment that just obviously went bad and you paid a shitload of money for. Who even bothers to pay this man on his next job? Or did we just literally erase him and cancel him from the NFL?
I think he retires because this is his last hurrah. Unless he comes back and wins 6 in a row, 7 in a row, and rekindles the whole idea of what people thought he was, the Hall of Fame quarterback coming to New York. Nobody's going to pick him up after this because it's more than just him playing the quarterback position. It's him playing the media. It's him playing the coaches. It's him really creating a divide within the team. And
he's going to go out.
Who wants that?
He's going to go out less notably and less memorably than Ben Roethlisberger did. If you think about it, Ben was on his last leg, literally, and he walked away from the game, and he's got he's got all my respect in the world for what he's done. But Rodgers, this might be the classiest the least classy exit for someone that we hold in such high esteem. And I honestly, in my own personal
I would agree. He tried to do the Brady, didn't work out.
Nope. Hell no.
Did not work out, and he should just let it go. I just wish people would, this is the guy who, calmly and smirkingly said, yes, I've been inoculated.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, this guy, you can't trust what he says. And
Can't
I
trust
don't
the
care what he said on the Pat McAfee show. They love him on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
Great, that's fine. But if you're listening to what he said, if you're listening to what he said, there is no way on earth that he had no clue, that he has no power, that he already shown that I have more. You think I have more power than I do? No, you actually came in and brought in an offensive coordinator, brought all of these players in. That's a hell of a lot of power.
You brought people that haven't been taken by any team. I'm sorry, but Alan Lazard, beyond his Packers, I don't think anybody should have taken him in the entire league. And guess what? The Jets pick him up. I mean, come on, man. Romeo Dobbs is next, probably. I don't know.
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. I remember that one. Yeah. Randall Cobb at age what? 30, 40, 50? Yeah.
But that was his idea. That was his, I'm going to bring these guys in. They know how I play. They're going to teach these young guys how to be professionals the way I want them to be professionals. Right. And Garrett Wilson isn't falling for that. And Garrett Wilson is, I'm not impressed. If I'm on the Jets offense, I'm not impressed with Rodgers. I don't know what he does in practice, but I'm not impressed.
I got to look back at the stats. Is Garrett Wilson have a stat line that was better with Zach Wilson through this date, like through 5 games, than he does with Aaron Rodgers? I'm pretty sure it's got to be somewhere on the close range, right? Like how bad of
that he might have.
Yeah,
I think he might have. Garrett Zach was just missing every pass. So I'm not sure, but if they're scoring the same number of points that they scored through 5 games with Aaron Rodgers, that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, I'm paying 10 times more money. Think about that for a second.
Yeah. All right, I do need to
let's go into this
thing. So let's take a look. So we got Seattle. Are you
Niners? Yep. We know what the Niners have. They have a bunch of injuries and all that good stuff going on. If the game's in Seattle, I'm picking the 12th man. I'm picking Seattle to win this game. They've been running the ball well. They're figuring out how to use their tools. They're using Tyler Lockett again. They've got DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Jigba finally had a touchdown last week. Even though he hasn't gotten the ball much this year. They're figuring it out. I like Seattle.
I actually like Seattle as well. I think it's going to be a close game. It's a divisional game, so I don't care what's going on with either team. They know each other. But I agree with you. I think the home field advantage. I think the sting of the loss last week will be enough to propel Seattle to beat San Francisco. And San Francisco is still trying to get over this injury bug with many of their star players. Christian who? Many of their star players are hobbled or not playing. Purdy does not look like he's not too Purdy anymore. Like before, everybody was saying Purdy looking pretty. I don't know. He ain't looking so pretty now.
Purdy looking a little pedestrian. He ain't got no help from the diva named Ayuk that they somehow paid. He ain't getting nothing. The only 2 guys performing on that team right now are maybe George Kittle and Jordan Mason, and that's it.
Well, and Jennings looked good for a minute. The one game he scored like 2-3 touchdowns in the first quarter or half, and then it seems like he's gone quiet since Debo and everybody's coming back. So we'll see what happens. But I agree with you. So we both got the Seahawks on that one. Next up.
The early game.
Bears are going to London, y'all.
Yep, London's calling for those boys, and we got Lord Farquaad and his merry men leading up against Caleb Williams and the heroes that be on the offense there. I'm gonna go Bears, but the Jags did show something last week against the Colts, so it's gonna be interesting. Attack Lord Farquaad and take down his castle. They're good.
And he's Farquaad mixed with Prince Charming. He looks like the perfect mixture, because Farquaad was a little diminutive in stature, but he has the face, and then he's got the wavy blonde hair like Prince Charming. Honestly, my confidence pool, I have the Bears as a 2 on this one to win. And the reason I have them as a 2 is, I hate to say it, but they're still the Bears, and I'm a Bears fan. But these are the kind of games that I could see them losing, because Jacksonville has the talent. I don't know what's been going on this year. They have the talent to be a good team. They got decent receivers. If Trevor Lawrence was actually playing at the caliber that he's getting paid, I think they would have a better record than they do.
It's going to be on the Bears. it's going to be on the Bears D. And I mean, the offense is maybe improving. Caleb's got to figure out how to use those damn receivers. I still can't figure out why that's not happening enough at this point.
They need to block a little better too.
Block, yeah,
and
they need
run.
to block,
and they need to run the ball.
Yeah,
run the damn ball. Even if you get 2 yards, still run it. Make it feel like the defense has to respect it to some degree.
Yep. So I think it'll be a close game, but I'm hoping Bears that one.
Me too.
Yep.
Next I got on my list is Buccaneers Saints. Another divisional game.
Divisional game. Saints are going to be playing with Spencer Rattler. If you've ever seen him in college, that dude was a problem. Let's say he played for Oklahoma for a year, at least the year that he was notable. He was coming out of college or coming out of high school and coming out of college. He was like the shit, basically. Turned into nothing into college. Got drafted, obviously, playing as a backup now behind Carr. Carr's injured for 4 weeks, unfortunately, with that rib injury. So now he's going to go in and take over the Saints offense. Does the Saints offense have a lot of offensive weapons? Absolutely. You got Olave. Everybody.
Although Shaheed is questionable, I see.
He's questionable. You got him, Olave. You've got in the back, you've got Alvin Kamara all day. It's going to be an Alvin Kamara game, but the Bucs are going to game plan for that. They'll stack the box, stop Kamara. I think they're going to force Rattler to throw. I think he'll fall apart. I'm picking Bucs on the road on this one.
I have to say the same. I feel like Tampa Bay, outside of that one dud they put in against Denver, they've played decent. Baker's feeling himself a little bit. I think they're learning how to get Evans more involved in the offense along with Godwin. So, they got a nice tight end that could play too. And what is his name? Cotton or something like that. So I feel like they could do this. The young rookies running pretty well and hard. And they got a better defense, I feel. So I don't know what the stats say, but I just feel like the Buccaneers are going to win this game on the road.
Well, especially like I said, division rivalry. I think it's important that the Bucs try to get a road victory probably for them, so they're going to try to definitely push the buttons. So I like Baker becoming a dog on this one.
Agreed.
Yep.
Washington against the Ravens. Now this to me looks like the game of the week.
Yes, sir. Definitely game of the week. Playing in Baltimore. Get to see the new leader of the Commanders come into a road game, even though they're 4-1. they are playing ridiculously well. They're going to be playing against a good Ravens bunch, obviously. I'm going to go upset special. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels pulls this off in Baltimore on the road. Even though the Ravens got everything going for them, they're looking good on offense, obviously. They're looking deadly on offense. In fact, after last week, they're
getting Henry involved.
Yeah, they're finally figuring out how to run the game. That said, the Commanders have a decent enough defense to stop the run. So it's going to be up to Lamar throwing the ball. Bateman sucked so far. Every Ravens fan here will tell you that.
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
They got to figure out where to throw the ball. Now, I love Isaiah Likely. I think he's going to be I see him make 7 catches at least probably this game.
Yeah, he's athletic. He's got the height. He's got some hands. They should be going double tight end sets because if you got Andrews Likely on the field, that's better than Flowers and Bateman, in my opinion.
I'm smelling a shootout, though, in this game. I'm not seeing the defensive front. I'm seeing a shootout in this game.
Then you think it's going to be Washington.
Yep. You know the one guy I love on Washington that doesn't get enough credit? Terry McLaurin.
I was going to say that. He's been a really good receiver, in my opinion. He just has been on the Washington team. They had some iffy quarterbacks. Yep. I think he's now starting to he's really connected with Jalen Daniels. I think they have that relationship. Daniels trusts him, and he's getting these over the middle kind of throws, but he's also getting opportunities down the field.
Yep.
So I think it could be deadly. I think Washington has enough weapons. However, I got to stick with Baltimore. I think Baltimore, after their rough start, I think they're starting to click. I think the only problem could be their secondary, and will they be able to hold up against Daniels? That's the question mark that I have. But I'm going to go with them controlling the clock with the running game between Lamar and King Henry, throwing out some flares to their backup running back, who they seem to really like in the passing game. And I think they're going to control the clock enough to be able to settle the Washington offense down a little bit. So
any other day of the week, any other day of the week, I agree with you 100%. The problem is I've yet to see consistency out of this Ravens team over the last 3 years. They go from great one week always to off the next week. It's just a bad pattern that they've developed over the last 3 years. And I don't get it because the coaching's solid. The players are solid. I don't know what falls apart in between 2 weeks all the time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Don't disagree with you at all.
Yep.
Let's see who we got next. We have Cardinals, Packers.
Cardinals, Packers. I'm going Packers on that one. You got Jordan Love back. You guys, it's in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's in Green Bay.
No, I think some people have referred to Kyler Murray as a garden gnome, I believe, with his diminutive size.
But the boy can ball. When he plays well, he's balling with the best. But when he plays poorly, that's the problem. He talk about inconsistency. He's the model of inconsistency.
Yeah, no, like I said, he's kind of like the poor man's Lamar, and unfortunately, he doesn't have much to throw to out there. I mean, he's got Marvin Harrison. Don't get me wrong, but
he's going to be a player.
That dude's going to be a player. There's no question there. Cardinals going to get a running a little bit more. I mean, they got James.
I was going to say they got Connor. Connor's a bully. He can run through the people. So.
But I still like Green Bay and Green Bay at this point.
I agree with you. I like Green Bay at Green Bay. I would say one thing. Don't be surprised if the Cardinals actually pulled out that upset. Ask San Francisco how that felt. And they were in San Francisco and they beat San Francisco. Nobody.
Yep, big confidence builder, no question. So, here's the interesting matchup, I think. Browns and Eagles.
Okay. I'm not sure it's going to be interesting.
Well, okay, so we're talking about an Eagles team that's coming off a bye, so they should kind of hopefully be on the mend and get hopefully right the ship, if anything. If anything, the criticism has been that Nick Sirianni and that offensive staff can't figure out how to get the dang ball to the right people on the offense. And their defense has
but come on now. If we were saying this about any other team, they've been getting on Philly, and I'm going to have to jump up and try to protect a little bit of Philly in this way. A.J. Brown hasn't played in how many games? He's your best receiver. He's one of the leading receivers in the league, and he hasn't played. Then your other receiver goes down. So your top two receivers go down. What's the expectation at that point? Like, we expect them to be great on the offense when they have their best two receivers knocked out. I think people are just jumping off the deep end when it comes to Philly's just so bad. They do have some issues. I'm not sure what's going on with Sirianni and Hurts, but I feel like we're a little hard on them, and they can easily turn the switch back. I think this is a great game for them to do it. They're at home. They're playing a Deshaun Watson-led team. Enough said.
See, on that note alone, we're playing in Philly. Eagles coming off a bye. I think it's definitely Eagles. There's no question there. The Browns, this is make it or break it, in my opinion. If the Browns don't win this weekend, I think you got to figure out, even if you have to pay a penalty, you cut ties with Watson. You cut off the arm. You get him decapitated. Do something like that.
I don't disagree. I don't know how they took Massage Boy and ended up paying him all of this money when they knew there were issues. He hasn't played.
You're ruining the careers of all the other studs on that team. Amari Cooper, Myles Garrett. I mean, if I'm Myles,
I would be pissed. And this is another example, and we talked about it earlier. This is another example, like the Jets, where I feel like if they lose another game, the defense is going to be a mutiny, and the defense is going to give up because they're busting their butt, and they literally are watching some of the worst play at quarterback that you could ever see for a guy getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars.
See, that's the thing. The Browns statistically are still one of the best defenses in the NFL. Regardless of losing games and stuff like that, they are statistically still one of the best defenses in the NFL. And fantasy proves it. If you look at their stat lines. At the same time, like you just said, there's going to be a bend don't break situation where the defense is going to have to snap and say, offense, you can't get your shit together, we're quitting. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth in a locker room. So they got to figure out.
Coach Stefanski's about to get fired.
Well, here's the thing. Their backup, I would take I'd roll the dice on Jameis Winston.
I would too. I would definitely do that. I mean, granted, he's going to throw as many touchdowns as he does interceptions, but at least you feel like they're throwing the ball. I mean, Deshaun Watson looks pathetic and pitiful. And here's the thing that it's similar to Rodgers. So they got him from Houston amidst this controversy. He didn't play for how long?
An entire year, I believe.
I thought it was even more than that. And then he comes back and he looks
pedestrian.
I don't want to use the word pedestrian again, but Boy, he looks like me playing quarterback in my 20s. I wasn't a quarterback, by the way. I played both sides of the ball. I played quarterback when we had our scrimmages, in the neighborhood. But that wasn't my position. That's what he looks like. He looks lost. He doesn't look like he is the great quarterback that he was when he was with the Houston Texans before he found out how to get a massage.
He throws footballs as far as Jameis Winston throws crab cakes. I mean, it's sad. Like,
Oh, got to throw that one in there. That's what? That will never leave him. The guy walks into a store, grabs some crabs, and just thinks, hey, you know what? I'm the man at the college, so I just get this for free.
Now, the cool thing I will say about Jameis Winston, I don't know if you've seen some of the memes that are rolling around. Dude's a motivational speaker. Let me tell you, if you want to hire a motivational speaker, that dude amps up a team. Watch him in pregame out there and everything during preseason. Dude can speak.
I hope that he can play, though, because I don't care what you say out of your mouth. We've heard a lot of that. I want to see if he can play. They better resurrect Cleveland's career because they're playing in the division. Granted, the division looks a little weak, but Baltimore's going to run away with that eventually. Pittsburgh's playing well. Cincinnati and Cleveland are going to have a hard time trying to make the playoffs if they don't pick it up. And I mean, pick it up this week.
See, and I still holding out a little hope for the Bengals after watching them last week. Yes, their defense is a sieve. Don't get me wrong. But that offense is clicking finally. They figured out how to get the ball to Chase and those boys all the time now. So I like their offensive prowess for Cincinnati. But like you said, in this division, if the Browns don't win this game, they need to blow up something. And I don't think it's a staffing. I think Kevin Stefanski is actually a great coach with what he's done. I actually
think he's a good coach too, but they hamstrung him with Deshaun Watson. Here's a guy you can't even get rid of. Nobody's going to pick him up. You're hamstrung from a salary standpoint, and you gave away all of these draft picks, so your team isn't going to be good for a long time.
$200 million in the city of Cleveland, that buys you an entire block, probably. I mean, you hate to say it.
I just, when they did that deal, you knew that it was bad. And it just kept it. Now it's getting worse because he's actually on the field and not producing.
Yep. No, like I said, Eagles in a runaway on that one. I think that shouldn't be an issue. But like I said, we'll see what the Browns have to offer at this point. Now, I haven't seen a final ruling on Nick Chubb. I've been holding out on him on my rosters this whole week. I'm hoping he's healthy. I think they'll ease him back in with Ford, and maybe they'll run like a two-man for a few weeks, but I'd love to see Chubb come back in and do his thing too.
I would love to see Chubb come back and Jameis become the quarterback and see what they can do. Because I think everybody's lost faith. If I'm Cooper and all the rest of them, I wouldn't want to play with Deshaun Watson. I'm running half routes because I feel like the ball's not coming to me or anyway. It's going to be thrown, or he's going to run around and hold the ball for 5 seconds and get sacked.
Hey, Chiefs, offer up some draft capital, get Amari Cooper on board.
Honestly, if we want to talk Chiefs, why don't they go after Davante Adams?
Well, no, Davante Adams has specifically said he'll never play for the Chiefs. Rivalry thing, he'll never play. He's flat out, no question. So that will never happen. But Amari Cooper on the table, definitely. Even dare I say that little man named Tyreek Hill is probably on the table somewhere.
I know Tyreek wish he would have stayed because he left before the championships. It was like, oh, we can win without you.
Yep. So no, I think there might be some trade deadline moves made by some teams. I hope it's the Chiefs. I don't know if it is. They're pretty happy and content with what they've got, but they need an A1 receiver at this point because we're missing everything at that point.
Yeah, but look at them. I mean, they are winning ugly, but I'll tell you this. He reminds me in some ways of how Brady was able to, you could bring us on the New England Patriots and they were going to be good and he was going to be effective regardless. He was playing with guys you never even heard of, and then they became superstars. Who was Julian Edelman before he got Brady? Wes Welker. I feel like Mahomes is doing that, and as long as Worthy doesn't get hurt, he still has that fast threat to help stretch the field. For you to get Kelsey involved, they'll be all right.
Exactly. Kelsey's going to have to step up and kind of play like he did last week, where he becomes a possession guy. Because with a Worthy, you've got to have a possession guy to offset. So you've got to have that 1-2 in some fashion. So, like I said, that's where I'd love to have a 1 in there that just, you can go to all day. And that opens up Worthy to get that over the top ball at some point. But we'll see how it all pans out.
So
the other 1 o'clock
what
window,
you got next?
Let's see. In the same 1 o'clock window, looks like Texans Patriots. I think Texans in a runaway on that one. Pretty easy.
Yeah, we don't even have to talk about that one.
Yep. The other 1 o'clock game, Colts Titans. So the Colts are down 1 and 2 receivers and 1 and 2 running backs. If you haven't seen the latest injury report,
I did not.
Yep. So they don't have Pittman. They don't have who's their number 2, Josh
Pittman was
Allen.
out. Yeah.
Pittman and Downs are both on the injury bug. And then they don't have Jonathan Taylor, nor I forget the second running back that I picked up on my waivers for last week, but he's out potentially too. So they're going to be playing with third stringers, potentially a wide receiver and running back.
And if they lost Downs and Pittman, then Pierce basically becomes their lead receiver. And and he can play the third receiver well. And I think this is a problem with many teams, but him being a number 1, and you're going to see this with the Giants too, because I think Neighbors is out and Robinson has been putting up some decent numbers, but that's when you have somebody on the field. How do you perform when you have to be the number 1 and you're going up against their best safety, or I'm sorry, their best cornerback?
I mean, as much as I will never, ever, ever want to do this, this Will Levis team might actually beat the Colts this week because it's in Tennessee. They're healthy, supposedly, and the Colts are not. That's the only reason this happened. Now, does it suck because that's a divisional game for the Colts? Yeah, like they're going to have to figure some shit out, especially in a tight division.
I'm still going to go with the Colts because I think Mayonnaise Man is not going to do anything. I think he's not like Jared Mayo or OJ Mayo. He's just Mayo. That's all I got to say. I think he just does enough dumb things, even though he has talent, to still put them in jeopardy. They got Pollard and they've got a couple receivers. I think D-Hop is sort of on his last leg. I still see the Colts winning this out. I think their defense will hold the Titans down.
One would hope so. I'll you know what? I'll probably go Colts, but yeah, it's gonna be a close one just because that injury bug is what really kills it.
Yeah, and it's killing a lot of teams. It's sad to say, but you know, some of these teams are probably not going to achieve the things they could have achieved this year just due to injury alone.
Absolutely. So now I think we're in the 4 o'clock window. Let's go to the Chargers Broncos.
I love an AFC West matchup.
Everybody loves it.
I love it. Now, back in the day, this would have really been something. What, Elway against Don Coryell and Dan Fouts? I would have loved to watch that, especially John Jefferson making these spectacular catches in the end zone. But we're looking at something a little different now.
I mean, I hate to say it, but even the games that you had Jay Cuddy and Phil Rivers, they actually weren't bad, you know?
I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but I don't see the Chargers winning this. I'm just sorry. They've got, they're 2-2 or whatever they are, right? Because they were on a bye last week. Is that right?
Yeah.
They got Harbaugh as a coach. He's going to instill some rah-rah attitude, but I'm sorry, Denver actually looks like a real contender to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to continue, and they're at home.
After watching the Chiefs against the Chargers, I think the Chargers are still trying to figure out how to play ball on both sides of the ball, both on offense and defense. They're relatively younger, new regime, all that stuff. Herbert's good, but you got to build him into a situation where he's got experienced folks around him, and that's just not it right now. He's got Lad McConkey and all this other stuff going on. Okay, great. But that's another year or two ahead. I mean,
they lost Allen. They lost Williams from the receiver standpoint. They lost Eckler. They lost Eckler with the heckler. You can't lose Eckler. Eckler's doing some wonders.
The defense is what should be keeping them in games, but between Mack and Bosa, they just haven't cut it.
And Eckler went to Washington, right?
Eckler went to Washington. He's a third stringer at Washington. Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second.
I'm sorry, he's better than B-Rob. I'm sorry, he shouldn't be no third stringer. He's the one doing the deed.
Well, when healthy, that's the other thing with Eckler. He's always getting hurt, so that's another problem.
The sad thing about the Chargers, besides the fact that I still want to call them San Diego because not thing, because we go way back. But they're wasting Bosa. They're wasting the last legs of Mack. They got potential, but they're in like a rebuilding phase, and that's not the right place for these players who have superstar capabilities.
That situation when you move to a new city for no reason, in my opinion, and you start with a new coaching regime. You got Dean Spanos, who's not always the biggest spender. You've started with new players at different places, and you don't even have your own home stadium at this point. Like, it's just a sad situation all around. Now, that said, Broncos, I'm loving that defense. I mean, we haven't played them yet.
Defense looks stout, baby.
That defense looks legit. That secondary is A1, no question, I think, across the NFL right now. Patrick Surtain is a dog. You don't want to mess with that dude.
Agreed.
Just like his dad,
Agreed. Agreed.
Broncos, I mean, honestly, it's going to be down to whatever they can muster up on offense to win this game. I think they win because they're playing in Mile High.
I was just about to say they're at home, and that 3 points makes a difference in this game right here.
Yeah, and it's Sean Payton and it's experience. So I'm going Broncos on that one as well.
All right. Well, how about Steelers Raiders? What are you feeling on that?
Raiders, make or break game in my opinion. So we're first off, the Raiders are going back to Aiden O'Connell. They benched Gardner, long hair, flowy locks.
I got a mullet from the 80s Minshew.
Yeah. The man that was picked up from the sideline. Yeah, it was just, yeah, I mean, I love the story, don't get me wrong, but when you've got Devontae Adams, when you've got supposedly the fierceness of Antonio Pierce coaching and everything else, and you're still failing, there's something going on wrong there. And you're wasting the talents of that defense as well. Max Crosby is scary. And monster. You can't waste that. Like, I don't get it.
Defensive player of the year. He's a monster.
Yes. So I think it's gonna be Steelers on the road, but the Steelers have their own issues going on right now. I think it looks like Fields is still gonna start, which is good, even though Russell Wilson's back at practice. I don't want Russell Wilson to start a game ever again, in my personal opinion. I think Fields
would agree with that.
Opportunity at this point. The Steelers need to show me something on offense other than a run game. They need to show me the ability to pass the ball. And George Pickens, hey, you want to prove your fucking ego? Go catch a ball. Quit on play.
Another team that could use Devontae Adams. Put him opposite George Pickens. Pickens can play. He just has got some of the crappiest quarterback play. He's also
got some head issues where he quits on.
Oh yeah, true. He's got a little diva in him as well.
Yeah, so that's got to be fixed a little bit. I'm surprised that isn't fixed under a Mike Tomlin regime, because I don't think Eagles were allowed to be playing for the Eagles ever. Or sorry, for the Steelers ever, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, they got rid of Antonio Brown, so that shows you what they're about.
Yep.
I feel like they got rid of a lot of those players and the Juju Schusters and all of those people who were mouthing off a little bit too much, the Claypools. But I don't know. They kept Pickens. We'll see what happens with that.
There's a name you bring up that's been interesting. Chase Claypool. Where'd you go?
I don't know, but when the Bears got him, everybody was like, "Oh, we got Chase Claypool." I was like, "This guy's a punk," and sure enough, he proved it.
That dude got erased from the existence after that whole move.
He's horrible. Just because you can run fast and you can catch a ball doesn't mean you're a football player. You also have to have something between your ears, and you also have to have a little maturity about yourself. And he doesn't have any of those things.
Nope. So, no, I'm going Steelers on that one. It's just Tomlin experience and everything else. I'd love to see Antonio Pierce try to figure out how to make that team work. I think Devontae Adams is actually out, if I'm not mistaken. That's what at least I saw on my roster.
Devontae Adams has been out with a sore hamstring. Don't get me wrong. That can be an injury that can nag you and keep you out for a few weeks. I don't think it's that, though. I think that he does not want to play with the Raiders anymore. And I think the fact that Antonio Pierce got on the mic and basically, dissed him a little bit, he was like, okay, I had enough now. Yeah. And I think that
sounds like he sounds like he's got 2 or 3 trade destinations. I think the one that the media is pushing him toward is obviously the Jets. Yes. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's not going to happen because the Jets don't have the capital to do it at the end of the day. Unless they go spend crazy and go stupid, that's not going to happen. And honestly, that sets them up for failure, I think, because Aaron Rodgers can't get the ball 10 yards. Devontae needs to be 20, Yeah. So that's 1. 2, I think he might go play for his buddy Derek Carr, honestly.
I would say that, except one, Derek Carr isn't there. Yeah. 2, man, imagine if you were in that wide receiver room and you got Olave, you got Shaheed, and then you're throwing in. It doesn't work right. There's only one ball, so somebody's going to start catching some attitude.
I jokingly call that the Chicago Bears right now.
I mean, that's become a problem.
Got talent, but he ain't getting the ball.
But see, I think you got to have the right chemistry, and for me, like, granted, New Orleans isn't looking like the New Orleans for the first 3 games of the season, but they still have those types of weapons. Yeah. And I don't think that having Devontae Adams in that room is going to be helpful. Just just my thought.
The third option, like you just mentioned, the game that we were talking about, the Steelers. I think he'd be the perfect fit there, honestly.
I think that would be the perfect fit. Now, he might get frustrated having Justin Fields throwing the ball. Sometimes they come here, but they might be here, it might be there, it might be here. That might be an issue for him.
But no, like I said, in terms of coaching fit, I think it makes sense. But that, like I said, I think Steelers take that game. Devontae's not there. Should be an easy win. Interesting. Lions, Cowboys.
Lions Cowboys, another really good game. They have to take the Lions. I feel like the Lions, they've got the team. I think they were just on a bye as well. I just feel like they're the team. Great kudos to Dallas for winning against Pittsburgh, but even at home, I feel like the Lions are going to wear them out. If they run the ball and they still don't have a real good run defense, between Gibbs and Montgomery, they're monsters.
Interesting little stat line that I heard on sports radio this week. Take a look at all the Lions games this year and all of their opponents that they've played in the last 3 to 4 weeks or whatever it is. Take a look at the injury report for those teams that they've played against the week after they've played the Lions. The injury report is heavier in those weeks that they've played the Lions afterwards than they have any other team. The reason is that people are arguing that the offensive line and everyone else and the offense in general on the Lions is very physical. And they're putting a toll on these other teams' defenses. And I love that kind of smash mouth football. And that's Dan Campbell football.
Yep,
we know
that's Dan Campbell football. And, it just puts me in the mind like the week before, Montgomery pulled off this run. I guess that was Seattle, I think. He literally did an old school Walter Payton. He ran one dude head up, ran another dude head up, broke off to the left. That's demoralizing. And it's also painful when you're getting hit by the running back harder than you can hit them.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think Dallas has the heart anymore. And Jerry Jones didn't go all in. He did just the opposite of what you should do if you're trying to win a championship.
Well, whether Jerry Jones put this hard, I don't think the players are in it from what we've seen so far in this season. Like if there's a game that they should have won, it should have been at home versus the Ravens. They didn't, right? Ravens just went in there and ran all over them and took the game.
They ran all over them, yeah.
That's why the Lions have even more weapons. They're going to come into Dallas and take that place, I think. And honestly, I'm going to call it at least a touchdown game minimum.
I'm thinking the same thing. And if Jared Goff can play like he did the last time he played, where he was perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect. But if he can minimize, and his problem is minminimizing the turnovers. If he can do that, they're going to blow Dallas out because Dallas just doesn't have it, and they have to rely on Dak. As opposed to having a real running game. I don't know how you go back and get Ezekiel Elliott. You let him go because he sucked. Then he has a halfway decent something over in New England, and you bring him back, and you didn't get Derrick Henry? Come on, man. Stupidity it rises to the top with Jerry Jones.
If you're willing to pay Dak 40, 50, 60 million, I forget what his annual contract is, and you can't afford it, 7. It's literally the figure is people think it was some astronomical number for Derrick Henry. 7 mil.
Yeah, Derrick Henry didn't get paid a whole lot of money.
7 mil is a bargain for a top 5 running back right now.
Well, and remember, the league has somehow devalued the running back position. But we see, as we've been talking about this, what's the important thing? The Lions have a running game. What do the Bears need to do? The Bears need to establish a running game. This is what is still needed in the NFL, even though they've devalued the position. How do you let Saquon go and you keep Daniel Jones? I'll never know. But I'm sorry, there is a value at running back. It helps run the clock, and if you're effective at it, you keep the other team off the field. You're scoring points. You're wearing down the defense. So later on in the game, you're able to light them up. I think it's just been a narrow focus on the NFL, this whole idea of passing the ball as opposed to running it.
Nope, agreed.
Okay, we got the Bengals Giants.
Bengals Giants. I'm going Joey Burr. I think Joey Burr continues the offensive prowess that he showed last week. I think they figured that out. The defense sucks, but the Giants also, like you said, no Malik Neighbors. What are you going to do?
I'm going to go with the Giants, believe it or not. They're at home. I agree with you. Right. I agree with you that Burrows is playing well. I've heard some people on TV talk about, well, Burrows had to play. Are they watching the same games? Burrow he's balling out. It's just that you can't score enough points to be able to cover what the defense is giving up. And I think that they have an opportunity here. I think the Giants defense is a little better than people think. And I have a feeling that this is just one of those games. It's not going to be as high scoring as people think. And those are the kind of games that the Giants can win.
True. And it is a Sunday night game. The only reason I'm going Joe Burr is obviously, like I said, the offense I think overtakes it. They'll be fine. I think Joe Burr is going to come in with a chinchilla jacket. It's Sunday Night Football. He needs his image back.
Pimping ain't easy. I swear,
Hey,
Joe Burrow, he's come up with a persona with his dress.
Shady and all that shit. Yeah.
Kudos to him. Kudos to him, man. You know, I take my hat off to you. Go ahead. Do you, Joe.
His best thing would be comes in with a chinchilla jacket with that hair, and they're playing Murdergram, that new song by Eminem and LL Cool J in the background. Now that would be the shit.
I don't know the song, but now I got to look it up.
LL Cool J rapping at 56. I'm telling you, brings back memories.
Go ahead, LL. Not mad at you. Last but not least,
Kirko.
What's
Kirko
that?
No, we missed out on Falcons Panthers.
Oh, we didn't see that. I'm sorry. So Falcons Oh, well, that's why we missed out on it. Is there anything to discuss here?
Well, I'm just hoping it's not a trap game because remember, with the Panthers now, you've got what's his name taking over at quarterback.
Big Red, baby.
Big Red's turned into a rifle. He's turned in some offense.
He has, which is an indictment of their whole front office and picking Bryce Young over Stroud and not putting the right pieces in front. But apparently there are enough pieces there because Dalton came in and they started looking like a team again.
Exactly. So, but I still like Kirko 2 Chains. As long as yep. Kirko's on fire right now. You gotta ride the Kirko train while you can.
You like that? Go ahead, 2 Chains. I love him. I love his swag. I love the fact that he's never really been talked about in the stars like the better quarter. But if you look at his stats, dude balls out every year, throws for 3,000-4,000 yards, whether he's in Minnesota or Washington or wherever he is. He just never seems to get the right, he doesn't get the props he deserves, I think.
Absolutely. It would be nice to see him get a playoff run in him, even with the Falcons or whoever, just to kind of seal off his career. It'd be nice.
He's sort of right at the right spot right now. Falcons got a running game. Falcons got a passing game. Hey, Pitts, who I thought was the Pitt, is actually doing he's actually doing something. So, I'm hopeful that he can, make a run as well.
Now, our fun discussion of the day, the Bills and the Jets. And we go back to Mr. Rogers.
How do the Jets win another game in the next 2 or 3 with this whole, locker room? I think the locker room is divided. I'm sorry, you don't get rid of a coach. Saleh wasn't that bad in mid-season. It's not even mid-season yet. I just don't see that. I don't see them being able to do anything. I don't care if they're at home. I think Rodgers is overrated. He's not the same Rodgers since the Achilles injury. And Buffalo has something to prove. They still need to win some games. I think Buffalo is going to win that division because that division is just so crappy. And I don't see the Jets, even with their defense, being able to put up enough fight.
I like Josh Allen on Monday night, no question there. Interesting, I'm looking at the spread and the numbers here. They got Buffalo 2.5 right now, which I'm like, okay, Vegas has got something interesting cooking there. And the over-under is at 40.5. So they're expecting a very low-scoring game, and they're thinking the Jets' defense somehow slows down Josh Allen and the boys there. Now, I haven't looked to see if Khalil Shakir's healthy again. Hopefully he is.
So Shakir was still showing up as questionable, as well as James Cook. So that's the reason why.
That's probably why
you take those 2 things away. They have no running game. Josh is going to be running for his life. But the Jets, built the way they are right now, can't score more than 17, 18 points. So
can't score, but that defense can keep the ball down. So that's going to get interesting, I think. I'm not still going out Allen. I think he still comes up with magic. But I think that close game is probably what Vegas is thinking at this point.
And I can see them. With Buffalo missing 2 of their key components, the Jets already having that kind of defense, but also showing some ineptitude on offense.
I mean, all I can say is, Breece Hall, please show up. I got him drafted on my team.
I'm just wondering why they only ran him. See, this is another thing, too, and I don't know if that's Saleh or Rodgers, because why are you passing the ball 50 times with a guy who's 40 years old?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
I don't know if that's the coach or if that's Rodgers, because I can't tell anymore who's running the show, but I feel like it's more Rodgers than anyone else.
I have to believe it was either Rodgers or Nate Hackett, and Nate Hackett had a similar problem in Green Bay, right? I mean, the dude he wasn't using Aaron Jones, he wasn't using that backfield. Like I said, that's why I've always considered him to be a fraud, and we'll see if he can actually coach his way out of the box here, and see what happens on Monday night.
I saw something on one of the shows where they basically busted on Hackett and said, your father was a great coach. You are not.
Dino Hackett was the offense coordinator of the Chiefs for a short time, and he was prolific. The man scored up. We threw up 30 points a game, no question.
It looks like some did not pick that gene up or whatever because
that apple does not come from that tree.
And again, the Jets are going to be in disarray unless somehow this rallies the team and they all didn't like Saleh, which I don't think is the case. I can't see how they're going to operate it. I think that's just a situation that's ready to explode because the defense might be seeing one thing and they're thinking, hey, we brought Rodgers over here, got rid of Zach, we are ready to go. Oh, wow, we're getting the same offensive output.
Yeah.
There's going to be some discussions in the locker room and on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
Hey, I do need to take care of a couple of things. I think it's going to be an interesting week. I think we're going to continue to see upsets because they're just, I think there's more parity in this league than we're accustomed to seeing, regardless of where you are, unless you're the Chiefs. I feel like everybody else just keeps getting knocked down.
Yep. No, and I think like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. The one upset game could be the Cardinals game, I think for sure. And then I'm going to go out on a limb, just on a hunch. I say the Panthers game could be an interesting one.
You're right about the trap. I just don't know. I tell you what, Chuba Hubbard is running the ball. The boy is doing some dirty deeds.
He's got a cool name, and he's always been a great running back, even though he's stuck in a backup role behind, honestly, other shitty running backs. And the dude keeps proving it over and over. If he's on any other team, I think he's an A1 running back.
Agree. Yeah. They need to bring back Hubba Bubba Bubblegum, and he should be the spokesperson for it. Hubba Hubba with Hubba Bubba.
That's not tasty good food, kid. With real sugar.
Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, it will be an interesting week. We all hope that you enjoy the weekend, have fun watching the games, get your favorite beverage, get your favorite food, and sit back and enjoy.
Yep. And, good thoughts to those folks in the Southeast having to deal with all these fun storms. Absolutely. We got friends and other people that we know down there, and it's been nuts. So hopefully some recovery there, and hopefully everybody can take solace in more of a brighter weekend going forward.
Yeah, and actually, thank you for saying that, partner, because our hearts go out to everybody who's down in that Florida area. And, boy, they've been really taking it down in that area the last month or so with Helene and with what was the name of this one? Milton.
Milton is from Office Space. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. we were watching that last night on CNN. It just looks so horrible. Oh, one quick question before we close this out. So Cooper was out there in the rain like he was a rookie, weather person or anger, whatever it was. He's out there. Anderson, get your ass inside. What are you doing out there, man?
There's only one Jim Cantori in the world. Not anybody else can wear slickers and stand in that crap like that man does. Don't try it, Anderson Cooper. Don't try it, anyone else. There's one Jim Cantori, and that's why it's called the Weather Channel.
Yeah, I just, he's sitting out there, and it looks like this little palm tree was sort of slapping him in the face every now and again, and he's all wet. He looked all really old, actually, Anderson. You were looking a little old there yesterday. I get the other people. I get the other people, and what they're doing. Although we used to joke about this 20 years ago. It's like punishment if they send you out in the blizzard or send you out in the hurricane, and you're sitting there going, "Hey, I'm sitting here in the hurricane." Exactly. Yeah, it's like, look, you could have just set your camera up and been inside and said that. We can still see what's happening. You being in the shot really isn't changing anything. So why are you what did you do to deserve this?
Well, and not to make it political, but where's our political leaders on all this? They haven't talked about it enough, I don't think, in terms of
actually, Bush, not Bush. Did I just say that? No, Biden did speak up, and he was saying the one thing about the FEMA, and he said we're going to be out there. I think he canceled his trip.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard the other people who are running for that.
The people that are running, I haven't heard a peep out of it. And one of them.
I'm sorry, but what is Trump going to say? It's windy, and it's a lot of water, and what is he going to say? You know, he's. I'm sorry. I saw something the other day that made me almost laugh. This guy was being interviewed, and he says, "Oh, well, Kamala speaks like a first grader," and then he goes on to just butcher up the English language grammatically as he's speaking, right? And it's like, you're the guy who sounds like the first grader, but he's saying how illiterate she is, and then so after they go through that comedy piece, the reporter goes, "So what about Trump?" And it was
we got him.
But it was so funny, the fact that he was trying to down Kamala, but the way he said it, literally, it was like he had a fourth grade education, the way he was speaking. Like he was chopping up the English language, trying to say that the person that he's talking about can't speak or cannot articulate her thoughts.
I'll end on this note. So there's always been talk about border wall, all that garbage. For this flood, I shouldn't say the flood, but the storms that are coming into the southeast and everything. I don't know if you saw the bid on Tampa General. So Tampa General Hospital invested $1 million, I think more than $1 million, in fact, on buying this wall system that's developed, I think, in Scandinavia. I don't know which country it is, but I know it's a Scandinavian wall system that they created to prevent water from getting into the hospital. Take a look at it online. It is the coolest invention I've ever seen. It stops 10 feet surges of water. They put it all around the perimeter. It's bolted into the walkways around the hospital. It prevents any water from getting in. It literally looks like there's a swimming pool outside the hospital and nothing's getting in.
Hey,
and I'm thinking to myself, if you have a
idea.
cool wall system like that, and you want to build a wall somehow, I don't know why, but I'm thinking this company, we need to invest in this shit, not just for storms, but anything.
Yeah, actually, that sounds like a smart idea, especially in areas that are coastal.
Absolutely,
you would want to have something like that.
The entire city of New Orleans should be draped in this thing. I'm not kidding.
I don't disagree, and maybe after something like this will be, a way to catapult them into the discussions needed to maybe broaden their scope and how they could provide this type of service. They were showing roofs, being blown off. The one at the Tampa Bay Stadium that was blown off. And actually, you spoke of somebody we know had their house caved in, and there are just so many sad stories related to this storm. And I don't know, but I swear, and maybe we just didn't hear about things, but it just seems like the last couple of years, the tragic stories like this and the different types of natural disasters are more frequent and more voracious in their destruction. And it's sad to see this, and I hope somebody's doing something. I don't know, people, weather or whoever it is. I hope somebody's looking into this, because it's going to really take a toll on people across the world if we continue to see these events. It's like the movie Geo, what was it called, where all of a sudden everything went haywire, and the weather patterns, it just I'm hearing a lot of this, and it scares me. It scares me, not for me, because I'm in the middle of the nation, but it scares me for the people who live on the coastal borders or coastal areas.
And I think we should say this for another discussion, because it's something I'd like to get into. Because when these folks rebuild, and if they do in a lot of these areas, I still don't understand to this day why they aren't building back better. And I have proof of it too. Like, you can see it in what people do, like even in Florida, Mexico, every time these things happen in different places. Okay, you live in a coastal area. Why are you building back with wood?
So somebody we know,
somebody, I get costs. I understand costs 100%. But I'm sorry, but we're thinking about long-term sustainability. Like you just said, storms are getting worse and more frequent. So when does common sense kick in?
I don't know, but I think that, again, is looking at the dollars and cents, right? Yes. Because we know somebody who had a house on stilts. We don't know them, but some people decided to stay because they said that they were elevated. Well, they were on stilts that were wooden. So they ended up, the wife ended up getting killed, swept away, and the husband hung on for dear life as the stilts crashed, and basically their house went, on a river of water. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with people? Where's the common sense in this?
I'll get into the indictment of not just that, like the mindset, but it's even insurance is a bigger problem, which I'll get to next time we talk.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Insurance is part of this whole issue. Hey, look, I got a halo like I'm an angel.
Yeah.
Ah.
On that, the great Messiah, Brown and Brown are here.
Well, I always bid you a great day. Always
Likewise.
fun that we have these conversations and try to, provide a little humor and a little insight into what we see in the sports landscape, as well as our worldview and societal input in what we think, could better the world.
Nope. And like my colleague says, be well and take care of yourself at the end of the day.
Salute you guys.
See you guys.
All right, man.